MAAC meeting, but that can't be completed. The third item is for DDOT, Cesar, to update on the status of MAAC funding. Then quickly, we're going to discuss the MAAC vacancy and potential council members, since Moda is on the line, and thank you for being here. The fifth, I'm going to, it was review and the discussion on red top meters and how we want to respond to that. I had a quick, like 3 minutes on both of these, review of what was presented on scooters, and then for us to discuss our desired responses to that. And then we also need to, we could quickly or discuss briefly the back and PACS call for action, and then move into a discussion of what a MAAC call for action would look like. Before we leave, instead of reviewing and approving the bylaws, I've heard from members that they'd like to have an opportunity for more discussion, and that Phil, the wonderful lawyer, has agreed once we have that to write up the bylaws as we all agreed to. So we're going to schedule a meeting to discuss those bylaws next week. And finally, we'll adjourn.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any problem with that, or they have something they want to change or add to?
All good here.
I see one other person on the call who hasn't been identified. The beginning, only the beginning of their phone number is 202-664. Are you willing to identify?
Get down.
Are you willing to
Hi, it's Andrea. It's Andrea Adelman. Hi, Heidi.
Oh, I understood you weren't going to be on the call.
Oh, I'm just here as a member of the public for the first half hour.
I got you. Okay, that's fine. And Anovia Daniels, can you identify, are you a member of the public or with a specific organization?
Hi, yes, Anovia Daniels, Community Engagement Manager at DDOT.
Great, thank you. I have started introductions. Anovia, we'll start back with you. Is there anything else you want to say about your role at community engagement and then as a part of MAAC, and then we'll just go on around?
Yeah, sure. So I'm new to DDOT and just really attending the call to learn more about this group and how we can assist.
Okay, I am just learning about you and your support of us also, so I'm happy to meet you.
And
let's go to
your name again?
Government staff people. Would the two from MOTA take turns and just briefly introduce yourself?
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all having a great day, and more importantly, I hope you're all staying safe and healthy during the public health emergency. My name is Steve Walker. I am Director of the Mayor's Office of Talent and Appointments. Many of you I've seen throughout the months and years during your tenure, and it's really glad to be joining you in this mode. So welcome, and thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chanel Patterson. I am the Associate Director at the Mayor's Office of Talent and Appointments. And I echo Director Walker's sentiments, and I hope that you all are well, and look forward to participating in this call.
Okay. The two from DDOT, do you want to take turns and introduce yourself?
Good evening. My name is Nana Bailey Thomas, and I am the Interim Equity Inclusion Officer for the Office of Civil Rights. Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here and to provide support. One point, I do have to jump off the call at around 6:45. I have another call I have to take at 7. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And my name is Cesar Barreto, ADA Coordinator with DDOT. I am the host appearing on your list, but just I can't change my name because I'm the host. I apologize, but
Thanks. How about Heather briefly?
I'm Heather Foote. I work on older adult transportation, and I'm here as a scribe this evening.
And very appreciative to have someone to take our minutes this evening. Heather does have to get off to be on another call at 7, so it's my plan to cut this meeting shorter this evening so that we can indeed finally actually have minutes for our meeting, and you're appreciated. Okay. How about MAAC members? You want to jump in and introduce yourself?
Buddy Moore, member of MAAC.
Hi, Buddy.
No.
Helen Urquhart, member of MAAC, treasurer with no money.
Tough job, I hear you.
Real interesting. I'm used to it.
Who else from MAAC?
I'm Philip Sclover, the vice chairman of MAAC.
Thank you, Phil. And last but definitely not least, Rob. Somebody needs to unmute.
Sorry, the interpreter was on mute. So I'm Robert Dooling, and I'm a member of MAAC, and I live in Ward 6.
Awesome, Rob. Thank you. And I'm Heidi Case. I'm the chair of the MAAC, and appreciate all of you being here. And there was one member of the public jumping in. Do you want to say anything else to introduce yourself, Andrea? Are you still here, Andrea?
Sorry, yeah, I put myself on mute for a second. Yes, hi. My name is Andrea Adelman. I am the staff consultant for the BAC and the PAC, and I am touching base with you guys and familiarizing myself with your meetings.
Thanks, Andrea. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to have to I'm not clear on how to share my screen so I keep up with my agenda. So I might. So the first thing next is the update only on the status of funding, Cesar, from you or Nana, Ms. Bailey.
Okay, so this is Nana Bailey Thomas, and if you want to share your screen, if you go to the third button over, there's an up arrow with like a little rectangle. That's the share content.
Got it. Okay. But that means share it with you, and I just want to share it with you.
You'll share it with everyone on the call.
Right. So, okay. So the next thing
you open up
the agenda is to hear somebody
second window, that way you can see both screens. You can open a second window, that way you can see both your screen and the WebEx at the same time.
I'm sorry, my tech ignorance is obvious. Is there can you tell me exactly how to do that?
Let me make sure I can be I'm gonna make her the presenter first. I apologize.
Yep.
I'm a rookie host on this, so I apologize.
You can even share the screen and share the agenda. Do you have a copy of it?
I do. Though I put some notes on it.
I just passed just sharing.
Okay, I can do it. It's there. My notes in red are there too. So
There you go.
that's all okay, gotcha. So the next thing, because we don't have minutes, because we don't have funding, because we couldn't pay the person to listen to and produce minutes, yes, I am emphasizing that. The next thing is to get DDOT, CESAR, the update on the status of the MAAC funding.
Good evening. This is Caesar. As conversations with Larry Lyles from the Office of Chief Financial or CFO, they are currently working on the bank account number and final setup for the account. My understanding is it shouldn't take more than a month or two to finalize.
A month or two?
At the worst, a month or two to finalize. A small reminder to the MAAC and to Chairperson, this case, we will need, Ms. OCFO will need an agreement, contract agreement between you and the vendor, in this case, Ms. Adelman, to make sure that they have a contract. OCFO will need a copy of that contract agreement.
I know, and you've told me that, but there's no point in getting it, and Andrea was wanting to wait further, so there's actually money. So I'm aware of my part, but you had told me different things about the money than 1 or 2 months. And then, I would like you to put that in writing, Caesar. Do you prefer?
I think the mayor's office has a question, and then I have a comment.
Okay, I'll go back to that screen. I can't see the whole thing this way, which is not good.
Can you hear us?
How do I unshare the screen?
You just click the same button that you click to share it.
I don't see it, and it's not there anymore.
You just toggle down to the bottom of your computer.
I know exactly what you're saying. I'm on Zoom meetings, and where it is usually, and it's not there now that I've shared my screen.
I can see your cursor moving in your agenda, so that means you're in the document. So if you pull out of that so that you're in the bottom of your computer screen, it should pop up. So now you're out of your document, so now you should be able to see it at the bottom.
It's not there, I'm telling you.
Okay. Well, can you still see everyone?
No, I can't. That's my point. And then I won't be able to see people who are raising hand or any of that. So I'm not going to go. I want out of this, and I'm just going to stay in the screen where I see people.
Caesar, it's probably easier if you. So let me ask a question. Does everyone have a copy of the agenda?
Host. It's listing him as the host there.
He just made you no longer a presenter. So if you send Caesar the agenda, whenever you're ready to display the agenda, he can just put it up. That's probably right.
Okay, that's all right. I'll just check it.
So the point that I wanted to make separate and apart from this is, I hear just kind of have a pause there. The MAAC is not an organization, nor are you a group. You are an advisory council that works with the Department of Transportation. And as a result, DDOT should be able to, the line in the budget for this committee, DDOT staff.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. Somebody interjected.
I can't hear you. This is Phil Sclover.
So whoever's not speaking at the time, if you can mute your phone, it just makes it a lot easier for everyone else to hear. And I'll start over when everyone is muted. Okay. I'm going to try again. So, I still hear someone. Caesar, it looks like whoever, Helen and PS and are still unmuted. So if you can mute them, because I think that's where the feedback's coming. Okay, great. So I think everyone's muted now. And I'll start over. So the MAAC is not different than any of the other 193 boards and commissions in the District of Columbia. You are one of the groups that are a category called an advisory committee. So it's not an independent organization like the Public Service Commission. So you don't need to set up a separate bank account for the MAAC. The resources that were allocated in the budget for the MAAC should be expended by DDOT like DDOT always spends everything else. And I'll be happy to work with the DDOT staff offline to talk about how other commissions do that.
That's not how they do it for the BAC or the PAC. And they
That's correct.
This is the third year.
Hang on, because you have separate types of boards. You are an advisory committee, and you can look at I'll be happy to send you the code that establishes the MAAC and how the MAAC acts. You're very different than those other commissions. Remember, there are 193. The fun part of our job is working with all 193 boards and talking about how each one are the same and different. So I think it's worth having a conversation.
The MAAC and the PAC and the BAC are created by the same legislation.
May I please finish?
I hear you.
So
but
let's
that's not how it's worked ever. They have
let me know when you're finished. Let me know when you're finished.
Yeah, I will, and I'm not. So this is the third year. The two other that I mentioned, the BAC and the PAC, are created by the very same legislation, have the very same amount of funding, and they have always gotten it through an account until recently. The MAAC has never, in all 3 years, although budgeted their $10,000, gotten a penny, while the other two did. They continue to refuse to provide, and I was in the hearing where they specifically told Mary Che that they are not, and Mary Che has told me also that they're not, and Caesar always tells me they are not responsible for any of it. And they have also said that to ODR. We provided a reasonable accommodation request to actually get someone to take our minutes, given the specific disabilities of the people we've had on there. So I know you're saying a lot of things, and I even understand they're not all the same. It isn't that I don't.
Okay, are you finished? Because I would like to continue because you stopped me from...
Obviously, you're unwilling to listen to me because
I'm not unwilling because I was trying to make an explanation, and you stopped me in the middle of my explanation and my request. So here's my request, because instead of having these ongoing, it hasn't happened, when is it going to happen, let's have a separate conversation, and I believe after the separate conversation, we will get to a resolution. Because you know what hasn't happened yet is I have not been involved in this conversation. One of us on this call for the last 6 years has managed the Boards and Commissions program for the District of Columbia, and that's me. So if you would allow us to have a conversation outside of this call, because it won't be resolved here, let's have a conversation outside of this call, and I can guarantee you by the next meeting we will have a resolution on the situation. That's what I would like to do.
I'm great with that.
And I would ask the other committee members. I would ask the committee members to see if they would agree with that proposal.
I'm just going to say none of the people on this call who are directly responsible to us wrote the legislation, supervised DDOT, understood that either. If you can do that, hallelujah.
So
other MAAC members, I can manage the meeting.
Who would like me to give it a try? Let me know if you'd like me to give it a try.
So I'm sorry,
He asked if the other MAAC members too would like him to do that. And I was just trying to allow them to get input for a second.
Okay.
Robert,
Buddy, yes.
Buddy, Helen?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
Did you hear Mr. Walker?
The beginning
Director of MODA has a suggestion about being able to get our funding, having a meeting outside of this, and he is saying that he will be able to resolve this with his many years of experience doing this. by our next meeting. Would you all like for him to pursue that avenue?
Phil
Right,
Sclover,
absolutely, yes.
absolutely. I think that we should go ahead with that suggestion and go ahead with it at the earliest convenience. It's a no-lose situation.
Yep, I agree. But yep.
Okay, that's Buddy and Phil. Anybody else want to jump in? Comment?
Yes, I'd actually like to jump in. So okay, thank you so much. So this is Nana Bailey Thomas, and I currently am the interim equity and inclusion officer. I actually supervise CSAR. And what I can tell you is that we received mixed messages from our Office of Chief Financial Officer. I can tell you that my division personally pushed for this matter to be resolved. And so CSAR was instrumental in that as well. But I too would like to have a discussion with Mr. Walker, because I think there may be some misunderstanding as to how the councils are running and the funding sources. And so, Mr. Walker, I actually sent you a note in the chat. So if you're willing, I'm willing to have a conversation with you as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks so much.
Mr. Walker, it was the Associate Chief Financial Officer, George Dimes, who was with me, having me sign a signature card for the bank account. If there's a misunderstanding, then they too seem to be a part of that. All right, thank you, sir. I think that's going to be very helpful, and I appreciate that. Okay, so
I've taken the liberty to put the agenda on the chat, just in case.
Phil Sclover, can I make a comment? Is it true that we cannot begin to contract for our website until we have the funds? Is that correct? Hello? Is there an answer?
This is.
I guess go ahead, Susan.
I guess this is going back to the subject matter of the transcriber as well, so it's going to be part of the conversation now with Mr. Walker.
Okay. Okay, so
go ahead.
So both the website and minutes are off the table until Mr. Walker has his conversation with Heidi Case. Is that correct?
Well, no, he's going to have it internally, I think, with DDOT. Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
Yeah,
Okay.
And I'm going to put a lot of this on Chanel as well, because she's our fantastic associate director who has this board. We see ourselves as problem solvers and facilitators of conversation. And what I often hate hearing is boards and commissions that have been having problems that have been going on, and we haven't been looped into the process because we could try to be we're solution oriented. So the website, the funding, if there are other challenges that the commission has been having and standing itself up, we are happy to get involved and help come to a resolution. And that's the only thing that I'm offering. And I can guarantee you by the next meeting, you won't be saying, oh, we've been trying to do this for 3 years, and we will find a pathway to success. And so that's what I'm offering.
Okay, terrific.
Yes.
And
okay, so what must we do as a MAAC that your contacts will be with our chair?
Yes, so with the DDOT staff and with the chair and should any other members of the committee want to be involved, it'll be great to have a non-committee meeting to just kind of talk about what the challenges are, what we need. So I heard the website, I heard the bank account. If there's other things that are outstanding, and then let's try to get those solved so that you can be an effective commission and get your work done. Because it's really, we're almost an hour or a half hour into the call, and we're not talking about any of the work of the MAAC yet. We're talking about the problems the MAAC is having in doing its work. So I want to get that out of the way and get you to be a successful commission.
Us
Great.
too, and I'm new to chair, so a lot of the time, I did not know that you guys played that kind of role. It's wonderful information, but just to make the biggest, I think, more frontline issue to having meetings is we don't have anyone to take minutes, and that's a part. And there is some accessibility issues that make that challenging for each one of our members. So just FYI.
Yes, and I know that we've had a transition in staff at DDOT that was assigned to this commission, and that's, and again, in our capacity as problem solvers, just like we take the responsibility of setting up meetings off of the commission members and put it onto the staff at DDOT, we would strongly recommend that the responsibility of minutes, making copies, sending stuff out, that's an administrative function that we should have the DDOT staff do and not the members of the board.
We agree, but it's not been, okay,
Yep.
Great. So we'll move on.
Yeah, that's our list of things that we'll talk through on how to make sure that we've got that right.
And Mr. Walker, this is Nana Bailey Thomas. It was my understanding when I filled in that that was not our role. So I look forward to having that clarifying discussion with you as well. Because I do not believe that is the case with the PAC or the BAC.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is to discuss our vacancy and potential council members, which was the original reason, and it turns out to be very lucky for us that Moda was on this call. I understood that Cesar had let you know, is that correct, Ms. Patterson, that we've had a vacancy for a while, even quite a while before I ever came around, and we are looking to discuss what we need to do to you know, whatever, I'm not sure what the procedures are for you to check on that person. We have no longer current phone numbers or emails or ways to contact that person. And then also a discussion of possible other council people when that's appropriate.
Chanel will lead the recruitment on if there is to be a replacement. That'll be Chanel's responsibility. And what everyone can do is send us names of people who you think we should consider. So you can send those directly to Chanel. She'll follow up and make sure all the members of the committee has her contact information. And I'm not sure if, Chanel, we've already reached out to the individual and we can find where that person's status is, and perhaps they're just not able to continue serving. I believe the person's term ended this year. In December, if I'm not mistaken, and so Chanel will try to reach her. If we can't, we will find a replacement. But what all the members of the committee can do is think about, I'm sure there are great people that you know who should be members of the MAAC, and if you just send Chanel those names, we can start the process of identifying a replacement, if that's to be the case here.
Okay.
Phil Sclover speaking again. If her term has expired, what more needs to be done? I mean, she's off.
To clarify, her term is not expired. Go ahead, Chanel.
Yeah, I was going to say her term is actually expiring in December of this year, so she has
this year
expired. And I did reach out to her. I haven't been able to get a hold of her at this point, but as Director Walker stated, we can have a conversation offline about the process, about her participation habits, and move forward with it from there.
The one thing I did want to do on the call is take a few minutes among the MAAC members to discuss that. I had someone I wanted to suggest in particular, but I'd also like to hear if anybody else does. And I'm always trying to ensure maximum inclusion. So I think we need to add, and this person that I'm thinking of, it's a person of color, but we also don't have anyone from the IDD community, the intellectual and developmental disability community on that. And I think I'm always, as a community, I've had a lot of experience. I've had jobs working with them, and I always feel it's important to make sure they're included. And there is Project Action, it's the advocacy organization for people with intellectual disabilities here in DC, and it even spreads a little into the DMV area. And is one of the co-chairs. His name is Thomas. He is a wheelchair user, a person of color, and also part of the LGBT community. So I just feel like that's really maximizing our inclusion, our inclusion of the wider community and making sure we're hearing from all voices. And Mr. Walker, I saw you raise your hand.
Yes, and that's great. And we would, working with Chanel, would want all those sort of type of recommendations. But I'm just sort of like looking at the ward representation of the board members, and we do not have anyone from wards 5, 7, or 8. So it would be great to the river participation. So this is why we tell you, please send as many people as you know. We will do our engagement as well. But if I were to say, what are the biggest gaps we have, it's to make sure we've got geographic distribution as well. All those plus that on top of it.
That's a good point. And when we briefly discussed this before, Rob, one of the MAAC members, he highlighted that is to maybe prioritize Ward 5 or 7 and 8. And I think that's wonderful. No one specific pops to my mind. If it does for anybody else, let's definitely consider that. I think that's essential also. So thank you, Mr. Walker.
Great.
Anybody else want to throw anybody's name out at this point, or at least we can think about it? And any ideas like can send to Chanel.
This is Buddy, and I will be looking at some individuals that I'm aware of who may be able to serve on the MAAC. So it will be a name coming from me, possibly.
Okay, that's wonderful. Glad to hear that. Okay, anybody else on that topic?
Just to kind of wrap that up, you all can send the information directly to me, and then my job is to look into and vet and determine, with you all who is the best fit for the position.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Ms. Patterson. Appreciate that. So, given that we only have a note taker till 6:45, I want to ask the board members, do we think we can, the 3 really discussion, take action items are to quick review of Red Top, like in 2 minutes, and discuss any actions. There's do the same thing for scooters, and third is coming up with our own call to action letter. Is that order okay with everybody, or do you want to prioritize it differently given that we have time constraints?
No, not at this time.
No,
we're good.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
So, Chester, that we go to you, but really concisely, please, just because of our time limit, on the topic of the changes, updates to the Red Top parking lot.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Again, this is Cesar. Really quick, Benito mentioned on the March meeting was a brief update that changes are coming to the district area of the stadium events, basically where the Nationals ballpark is and the Audi field where DC United plays, and Navy Yard area, that we're expanding the Red Top meter parking spot to this area, and that we're producing a new method of vending, as in we are changing the method. Instead of having red top meters, the parking meter with a red top, we're going to have red poles with accessible signs, which is more readable from the vehicle standpoint. In addition, he mentioned that we changed and modified our method of payment to be no receipt need to be on the vehicle anymore. Simply, you go to the vending kiosk, you put your license plates, and you put the amount of time and carry on. So those are the changes that are coming into the red top meters. We're expanding to, like I said, the Parking and Transportation Division is expanding the separation to the Navy Yard Stadium areas. And more updates will be coming soon, since Benito has requested to come and present to the MAAC on June. There's a roundtable discussion that is about to happen. We're hoping to have it as soon as possible. And if that roundtable is, the MAAC will be invited as well.
A roundtable about the meters?
First site management roundtable, which includes the meters,
Right.
zones, and multiple aspects of parking.
Okay, thank you. Just on the curbside management, that was originally our topic for this meeting, and I had planned to get a lot of the stakeholders in this meeting to report, but had since heard that there's going to be this roundtable. It seems like we've been a part of elevating this issue as really important, both to seniors and people with disabilities. There are so many bike lanes and now newer bus lanes that are creating difficulties for vehicles like Metro Access or the taxis serving Metro Access customers from being actually able to access the curb and safely have their passengers get out of the vehicle. So I just wanted to say that's going to happen in May, and I know the Back and Pack are going to be a part of it, these other stakeholders, and then we could move that to our topic in June. I would propose to change our list of meeting topics. Sorry, my brain goes out for a minute. Okay.
Yeah, this is our buddy. Buddy here. Now, Caesar, during the last meeting, there was some question about the signage, that there appeared to be some difficulty in how clear the signage was when it came to red top meters. Has that been worked out? Do you know?
This is the part that we are fixing in the Navy Yard Stadium event. If we see success and a better acknowledgement from the pilot that we're bringing to this area in regards to accessible parking meters, we are implementing this type of process into the Central Business District, or CBD, for implementing so we can have more accessible and better readable signs. The came out in the meeting was that the red top meters were not easily visible on the street. So we're improving our method by implementing 2 poles, one on one side, one on the other, on the stadium. Parking and Transportation is fixing this part of the operations, and they're really open to create better methods for the district.
Okay, great. All right.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have comments about the meters, or can we move on? Great, thank you, Cesar. The next one that you were very briefly going to mention, just a quick review of presented about the scooters. And then I know MAAC members had discussion they wanted to have about actions we may want to take.
This is Cesar one more time. I want to make emphasis that this is the time to have this discussion as a MAAC, because the commenting is coming during summertime. So for the regulations of the scooters. So this is the time to gather your thoughts, do your research, get all the information that you need. The scooters, read the regulations that are going to be open to the public soon. It's not open to the public yet. There's going to be a public commenting phase. So this is the time for them to create their responses, create their comments, so we can implement it during the public commenting phase.
Okay. Phil, would maybe you and I can form a 2-person committee and look at some things that we would like to see happen in reference to scooters, so and with maybe our recommendations to the MAAC, and then the MAAC can, of course, take a look at what
okay,
we are
fine with me,
recommending.
or we can do it individually. Okay. I know what I personally would like to see. My issue is with the obstruction of scooters on sidewalks, and as a blind person, I find them an absolute hazard. And I would like to see if the requirements in D.C. that especially in the business districts, as I understand it from the last meeting, that people are free to leave their scooters anywhere within 5 or 6 feet of the curb, and in many areas that is in the prime walking area, and a physical hazard to people like myself who are blind, who use a cane. And I don't know what the answer is, except to require that the sidewalks be clear in business districts, and that scooters be deposited in those so-called corrals.
Okay. Well, then we can come up with some recommendations from the MAAC.
And that and that be enforced in the business districts where the 5-foot area intrudes on the walkability of the sidewalks.
So, Phil, I'm hearing Buddy suggesting, and we could put it in a motion, to create a small subcommittee of the two of you to discuss together and create a combined list and come back to our meeting, perhaps the next one. Maybe that's too soon. You tell me, and therefore we can discuss it as a full committee, add to it, edit it, and then we have something. And we may figure out things we need to know a little more about, but that would give us a great start. Would you like to put that in a motion, Buddy?
Yes. Yes, I move. I move that we appoint a subcommittee to investigate the scooter issue and bring that back to the full MAAC Council.
This is Rob speaking. Yes, I agree. I second this.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this
Okay,
issue?
Phil Sclover, I mean, I'll be glad to participate, but I don't see why that we simply can't have an open discussion among the MAAC members.
Well, we will.
To my mind, it's not particularly complicated.
Well, I know that you have particular issues and that impact the blind community. There are also ways that the people with accessibility, physical motor issues have issues with it. And tonight the problem is we don't have time. And I know this would move us a little further along if if we did it that way. I think sometimes that's a good way to make better use of the meeting time if something is brought to the meeting that a few members have worked on. And that way we can manage our meeting time for more topics and hopefully ongoingly more public input. Rob?
Hi, this is Rob speaking. Yeah, so Phil, I just want to reiterate that these are complex issues, and how can we go ahead and set up, barriers, for this is social distancing, and we're practicing for blind pedestrians. So I think a subcommittee would be hopefully a good way, an opportunity for you to go ahead and do this. And if you have willing to just maybe have a month just to go ahead and research this.
Yes.
And just set up just what barriers and what way we can go ahead and just clarify that of what barriers we have for the blind pedestrians.
Okay, fine with me. But Buddy, you want to be the chair of this? Or Rob, you want to be the chair?
Well, before we move into that, let's just vote on the idea. We're done with, can we close discussion and take a vote on that issue?
Yes.
Hearing no disagreement, all those in favor of creating this subcommittee to move forward on the scooter issues, can you raise your hand or share your voice?
Aye, Buddy.
Heidi has her hand up. Rob has their hand up.
I have mine up.
Okay, great, Helen. You got a voice, unfortunately, if you're on the phone, but I gotcha. Okay, so the motion passes. Now, I heard, Buddy, would you be willing to kind of chair that, and you, Phil, to work with him on something to come back to our next meeting with?
Okay, I just have one question. This is Phil. I think there ought to be, Buddy and I have the same perspective. We are both visually impaired.
That's correct.
I'd be glad to back out. I think it's necessary to have a broader scope of views from people with different types of disabilities, because having both participants who view it from the same perspective
okay, so
does not move the
you're not interested. Okay. I think that would be, if that, if we're looking for someone with motor or accessibility issues, Helen, are you interested, or I could work with Buddy? What's your thought, Helen?
Well, I have an issue with these non-motorized vehicles. Because
so are you willing to
they keep running into red lights and almost killing me, even though I'm in a car. So I have a point of view from the point of view of the driver, which, believe it or not, we do have to have some feelings, ideas of what the drivers think, because they have to deal with it.
Okay.
And it's important.
Okay. Sure.
So
that
Helen,
would
would you be willing to be on the committee with? We got to move on. So
okay,
Helen,
yes, I'll accept I'll be on that committee also.
All right, great.
When I'm not counting out money that we don't have.
Great.
This is about recommendations, so it's.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. So, let's move on to our next issue. So I have sent all the MAAC members both the BACs and the PACs call for action during COVID-19. Just quickly, they do, Rob wants to talk. Go, Rob.
So I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. Are you done with your comment?
Please, share, Rob.
Okay. So I was thinking about, yes. PAC and MAAC, and how they sent the proposals. How do we, MAAC, how can we do that? So it's better sooner than later. Because if we wait until May, it'll be pointless at that point. There will be no benefits of DC people. So maybe Buddy and Helen are willing to email us their recommendations.
Get together on
maybe in a week,
Sure.
if that's possible, if that sounds reasonable.
Well,
And also Matt can vote on it and agree to send it. And
To make up
possibly if
some
we could just send a draft if possible.
just a minute,
Like
Helen,
next
let
week?
him finish. It's two
Okay.
different things, but let him finish.
Okay.
So, Rob, I'm hearing a distinction between what Clarence and Buddy, sorry, his name's on the screen that way, Buddy and Helen
that's
are
okay.
doing is more ongoing issues with scooters. And the letters from the back and PAC are more focused on the crisis and the emergency. So I'm not sure that we need their input before we write that letter. Because what I saw them focus on was, for example, the need to social distance, particular to the crisis, and some of the suggestions, which we know the backpack and we all love, that are very Vision Zero suggestions of, so that we have a wider places to walk, because sidewalks aren't wide enough for us to be 6 feet apart and pass each other. So they focused on things like bike lanes, limiting the number of traffic lanes, some of those kind of things, which do serve our longer-term goals, but make a lot of sense during this particular crisis.
I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood. I'm sorry. We can continue with the conversation. My apologies.
No problem. For example, it is a scooter issue.
Maybe there was not misunderstanding.
Okay. I wanted to say a scooter thing that's been brought to my attention. So what many of us with disabilities do, I can speak as a wheelchair user, is you get to something, it's in your way, and you pick it up and you move it. Well, during COVID-19, that's not necessarily a very smart thing to put your hands on something you have no idea who touched before you. So, for example, that might be something that we would, not only to put necessarily for the mayor and council, but sort of as an advisory to the wider disability community to be thinking about these kind of things during the crisis. And, that's just one example. Another thing that's affecting people with disabilities in this distancing is buses asking people primarily to use the rear door of the bus. And there are people, we're hearing complaints who, for example, the blind, that's a new and different place. It doesn't have the grab bars and everything that the front door does. So what can we do to suggest the best possible practices for that change to occur with accessibility? Those are just a couple of my thoughts, but I was thinking that would be mostly focused on what people with disabilities, what kind of accessibility, what kind of guidelines should we share so that people with disabilities are particularly kept safe, which is who we are best serving during this pandemic when things are changing around transportation.
But now we're going outside of the subcommittee now, right? We're not we've gotten away from the subcommittee on scooters, right?
Right. That was moved past, and now
okay, great.
we were discussing, if you had a chance to read what I sent you, both the examples were what the Bicycle Advisory Council or the Pedestrian Advisory Council are calling a letter, a call to action to the mayor and council about things they think will better serve people specifically because of the changes happening in the communities during this pandemic. For bicycle riders, for people walking in the street, etc.
Yes. Now, that was a lot of information to digest. I looked at it, but I really haven't had a chance to go through it, right? The document that you forwarded to us, Heidi?
Yeah. Well, Rob's point that I thought is that those are already sent, and, you know, there is a timeliness to this. I do understand it was a lot to look at, but it was just intended to be more of an example. Are there things we want to raise to the mayor and council about ways they can keep our disability community and seniors safer during this pandemic that specifically relate more to transportation, since that's what our mission is.
Now, that's an issue we can discuss in more detail during our next meeting, correct?
I'm saying no. That's a whole month away.
Okay.
And if we call to action that was my main hope, that we would at least get started on it, create a committee. But I think it was on the agenda that I sent to you all.
Yes.
Yes, Rob has a comment.
Please, Rob.
So I would like to make a motion. I move that we draft a letter similar to model the MAAC letter.
The PAC letter.
The PAC and MAAC letter, and we can draft that letter, and then we can send it out to all of you, and then we can all read it, and then send and provide feedback, and then I just move that we make a draft letter like that.
So I want to be clear, Rob, that sounds good. Are you suggesting everybody send to me ideas they have, and then we put something together, or am I misunderstanding you?
So all MAAC members can draft one letter in relation to kind of model that backpack letter, and then we can work from there.
I would second that. How do other people feel?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Yeah.
It sounds reasonable. Sounds doable. How long do we have?
Rob,
well, I mean, I could send you something tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, that's fine. Great.
Yep, tomorrow.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
So are you suggesting you're going to draft something, send it to all of us, which I love?
Yes, yes.
But then would we comment back and forth via email to try to get it accomplished sooner, possibly?
Yes, correct. That is correct.
Sure. Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So now that we're clear.
I'll second.
Okay, Buddy seconds it. Is there any further discussion about that?
That's it.
Okay, so we have 24 hours or to look it over and comment on it?
No.
Is that correct?
He's going to produce something in 24 hours.
Within 24 hours.
Yes.
He's going to produce it.
And he'll send it to us.
Yes, correct. That is correct.
Take a couple days. I'm not rushing you. It's only 24 hours. And comment on each of us. But we just keep everybody on the email so that we get everybody's comment.
Yes, that sounds, yep.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yes, definitely, definitely.
That's Rob, and
Yeah,
I
we
hear
have a
Bud
second.
Helen. Phil, how are you feeling
Yes.
about that?
It's going to be out in one day, and we comment on it in how many days? One day?
No, Helen, I'm not worried about the timeline act.
Yeah.
Not.
Okay.
He's getting it out in one day.
Okay.
You know, you do your best. Look at
That's
it
right.
as you can and respond. It doesn't have to be,
Yes.
you know, this is just a document between us at this point. So whatever your comments are fine. However quick, maybe you want to wait and see other people's comments first and then you jump in. It's just a way for all of us to work on this. And
Right,
we get
correct.
it
That
done,
is correct.
we get it done. I just didn't want to wait a whole nother month to do
I agree.
this.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, that is correct.
All right, so this has been, a motion has been made, it's been seconded, we've had discussion. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye, or raise your.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the
Aye.
motion passes, and Rob, I really appreciate you stepping up and being willing to do that.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's great.
Thank
for
you,
all
of course, of course.
All right. So we actually got through the agenda.
Great.
Yay!
And it is before the end of when our, not interpreters, I'm sorry, when our note taker, Helen, has to get off the call to get on another call. Before we adjourn, there was one other person, I think she just got, I wanted to let, she's not. Susie got on the call after we had passed introductions. Do you want to introduce yourself? Unmute yourself, Susie, and...
I'm sorry, who are you talking about, the new member?
No.
Susie.
No,
Susie.
She's been at our meetings. She works for ODR. Okay.
Right. Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
Susie.
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is okay and staying safe.
Okay.
And Susie, just remind everybody, because there are other people on the call, where you work and part of your affiliation here.
I'm Susie McFadden Resper. I'm from the DC Office of Disability Rights. I'm an ADA compliance specialist, and I was appointed to represent ODR on the MAAC.
That's correct.
Okay, thank
Hello,
you.
People know me. Most people know me.
Yes.
That's right.
Probably. Okay, Rob, you had your hand up a second ago. Did you want to add something?
No.
Anybody else? Any last things, Cesar, that you want to mention to us or tell us about?
I would like to give the MAAC a little guidance or heads up on the K Street Transitway Northwest. I believe public notice will be out shortly. It's a magnificent project to be a part of. We would like your feedback. For those that are not familiar, we are revamping K Street from 12th Street all the way to from 12th Street to 23rd or 21st. I apologize for not knowing the limits of the works. We are making bus-only lanes, and then the service roads. The current service roads will be just one, I believe 2 and 2, or 1 and 1 on each side, and bike lane. We're making an unobstructed bike lane, so it's going to be more pedestrian-oriented. It's going to be more multimodal-oriented as well. So it's kind of like a venture to watch, grow, and learn. And me as an engineer, I'm fascinated by the work that's going to be done there.
Yeah, Caesar, can you share that? Can you share that document with us, or share those specifics with us, so we'll know what we're working with?
I will send whenever the public meeting announcement is, I will send it out to the team.
Okay.
I will read there as well to keep me aware of this specific. It's a nice project to be part of.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Just
All
to
right.
double check, so you'll let us know about the public meeting, because I do like the opportunity to give feedback if indeed we see a need for it. So we would attend the public meeting, find out that information, and then could create an opportunity for feedback from us, and we could send that on through you. Is that what you're saying?
That is
Yeah, that
correct.
sounds-
Yeah, but that is correct. At the same time as well, just whenever they have a public meeting announcement and they haven't, I'm not familiar with what the process is going to be now with the pandemic, because they were trying to have it up all the time.
Right.
If they have like an open session through a web portal, I'll be happy to point to that direction so they can provide their feedback. Like I said, it's a unique project in the district. One of many to come on this aspect. So I'm really happy to see these changes in this area happening. I can't be more excited than as an engineer. So.
Okay, great.
Okay, we appreciate that. And whenever you get the information, however the public meeting will take place given current situations, and even that curb management roundtable in May, it's already to May 15th, and that the closing, and I actually heard that the council gave the mayor approval to close all the way through June 8th. So indeed, that may end up being, and if you hear about that or how it's going to take place, I would really appreciate, I think all of us would, if you could pass that on to us too, also.
Yes. That is correct. Benito Perez from the Parking and Ground Transportation Division is really good at reaching out to the MAAC. He is transparent. Susie knows him well as well, because he works a lot with ODR, Office of Disability Rights. So he'll be reaching out directly to either me or the MAAC, asking for a participants, plural, just in case, because he's open for everybody to come in and share their thoughts, because that makes a better impact on what we do outside in regards to accessibility and compliance.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks,
And
Caesar.
I have one last. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I was just telling Caesar thanks for bringing that information to us.
I agree. Mr. Walker, you're our resident expert, it seems, tonight, so I'm going to ask you, do you have any updates on budget forums about how that's happening you could share?
Absolutely. I can't remember the date. I believe it's May 6th that the mayor is going to be presenting the budget to the council, and we can make sure we get the correct date and get that follow-up to everyone. But what Mayor Bowser likes to make sure happens is there's a community feedback process in the budgeting process.
Right.
So we are looking forward to doing some online budget engagement activities. And so be on the lookout. We'll make sure that all of you as individual members of the MAAC get those invitations as they go out. I would assume, I can't speak for the council, but I would assume that they would do some sort of process of having the OPRA budget committee hearings online. Actually, they probably have to, because there will be no face-to-face meetings during this public health emergency. As you mentioned, Chair, it's at least through May the 15th, but probably longer, but the mayor's extended it through the 15th. So be on the lookout for that. We'll make sure that all the committee members are aware of the actual date that the budget will be released, and then the process by which members can weigh in on that after that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Steve. Thanks.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you to our interpreters. Everyone's participation is much appreciated, and I'm glad, Mr. Walker, I was a little frustrated, but what you had to say was extremely helpful. And I was frustrated simply because I checked with everybody I could think of, and none of them suggested you. So, hey, keep on asking is the question. So grateful.
Excuse me, Phil Slover speaking. Do we have a date for the next meeting?
Yes, that's a good thing to say. Let me double check. So we are going on the second Monday of the month. So for May, as I'm looking at my calendar, it's the 13th.
Second Monday?
I'm sorry, I may have said those words. It's the second Wednesday, which is the 13th, Wednesday the 13th. Are there any holidays or problems with that date?
Just 1 second for me. Calendar, May 13th. Excuse me, did you say May 13th?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Okay, I'm fine.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. Wait, we were going to schedule a bylaws meeting to discuss that. This had been Phil's after reviewing it, and my understanding is never been approved. And he had some concerns. He wanted to give everybody time to read it and maybe schedule just a conference call. It doesn't have to involve other staff, just among us. They have to be there and educate me.
Well, let's set a date now. Okay.
So why don't
about,
we take...
Sorry to interrupt, but this is Heather, your scribe, having to sign off. Take care, everybody.
Okay.
You are very appreciated. Send to me what you have, Heather. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Would next Wednesday work for people?
Is that the 22nd?
Which would be the 22nd of April. It should be a much shorter call.
Yeah, this will be for bylaws only, correct?
Sorry?
Bylaws only.
Bylaws only.
Yes.
Quick.
22nd of April. Is that what you want to do it?
Next Wednesday, okay?
That sounds good to me.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Next Wednesday at what time?
5:30, same time?
Same time.
Okay, that's Wednesday, what date?
April
22nd.
22nd.
Calendar, April 22nd.
5:30.
Now, everyone received a copy of the bylaws, correct? Our current
You did
bylaws.
a good job. Thank you, buddy.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine with me. But what's 5:30?
Right.
Yes.
It's going to be shorter. We'll definitely be done before 6:30, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, we should be.
Basically, what I suggest is going to be a brainstorming session as to what issues should be in the bylaws, and then I will take it on to prepare a draft for a subsequent discussion at a meeting.
I'm all good with that.
I second it.
All right.
Okay.
Let's have a dual vote. We all agree and we vote to adjourn.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Hi, thank you. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you for those who are working. We appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Heidi, for putting up with me. Okay.
Oh, you're wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Oh, did Chair leave already? I was going to tell her to stay on for 1 second. But that's okay. Well, can we? I can't hear you.
It's only you and me right now.
I was gonna ask you to stand. So can you